Welcome to Unlocking Starfield, brought to you by Lucozade. Since its announcement in 2018, we've been counting down to Starfield's launch. And now, Bethesda's first new IP in over 25 years is just on the horizon, with the game releasing on September 6th. While we wait patiently for the highly anticipated Starfield Direct on June 11th, we thought now is the ideal time to revisit the announcements and trailers that have us excited to join Constellation. Stay with us until the end of the show to find out how you can win Xbox and Starfield prizes every day, including an Xbox Series S, all with a bottle of Lucozade. But first, I'm joined by Henry Melville from Xbox On and IGN's own Jake James. Guys, silly question, of course, but are you big Bethesda fans?
Could say that, yeah.
Yes.
Good. What was your first Bethesda RPG experience?
I think, well, for me it was Oblivion. In my first year of university, a friend showed me Oblivion, and it just changed everything. It let you invent your own magic, for God's sake, right? Like, I don't think I'd played anything else that felt like it, and it felt completely unique. And then, obviously, I would go on to play Fallout 3 and Skyrim and realize that it wasn't unique, it was Bethesda, right?
Yeah, Oblivion was my one too.
Just blew me away.
How about you, Henry?
Fallout 4 for me, so I kind of feel a bit like I came into it a bit late. And in Fallout 4, I just found it fascinating learning about all these different factions and their reasons for why they do the things they do. Always has like a grain of good in it, and you get to inject yourself into that scenario and decide what part do I play in this as well. Fallout for me, it just nailed all of it: the aesthetic, the gameplay, the exploration, and just the story, the people in it.
So in 2018, we got the announcement trailer. That's when we got to see the name for the first time. We saw that satellite and we saw that planet, and all we wanted was to learn more. It wasn't then until E3 2021, that's when we got the release date trailer, and we got to see more of the game, including like the items and environments. Henry, we know that this is going to be a deep single-player experience. What does that mean for you?
To me, it kind of means everything about what makes Bethesda games so unique is that this is your story. It's going to transpire over the campaign that they've crafted, and they've said it's going to be 30 to 40 hours, like what you'd expect for a chunky, meaty RPG, but we also know that that's probably quite an understatement for how players of Bethesda games are going to experience it. So for me, it feels like that core Starfield campaign, the 30, 40 hours, is more of like a jumping off point for where you decide to then craft your own narrative, and the things that you'll find out there are just waiting for you to see them.
Yeah, I think when you hear like 30 to 40 hours for like the campaign, I think that's the starting point. Then.
Yeah.
Jake, like, what excited you most once we got that first real glimpse?
Oh, Bethesda really nails their art direction, don't they? I really loved the one bit of technology that they showed, that satellite that was sort of star-shaped, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't mad futuristic lasers, people kind of sci-fi, right? It looked like something that could exist now, which I really love. Like, some of my favorite sci-fi movies are that kind of subgenre where it could happen tomorrow, in a sense. You know, your Arrival, your Interstellar, Contact, right? Like, the human element is super grounded, realistic, feels very science-based. I'm sure a scientist would probably disagree with me, right? But to me as a viewer, it feels like just like it could happen tomorrow. And then later on we found out that they coined this term to bring their art team and their whole creative team together of NASA punk, leaning in on that kind of grounded in today's science type sci-fi, which I can't wait to see how Bethesda interprets that in Starfield.
After that release date trailer, we got our first look at actual gameplay in June 2022, plus some more details on the story from Todd Howard himself. Jake, what jumped out at you about Starfield's universe?
I honestly loved how much we learned and didn't learn. I mean, like Henry said, we've got like a 30 to 40 hour main narrative, but we know little about the plot points of that at the moment. But this universe is already so narratively rich, so primed for us to like get there and start telling our own stories. The idea of the settled systems 50 light years out from our solar system, learning the names of the factions was really exciting, right? Because as big Bethesda fans, you can kind of put yourself in the game already. You can look ahead. Like in Skyrim, we had the companions. In Fallout, you've always got the Brotherhood of Steel. Once you start to hear about the factions and their motivations, you really start to put yourself in the world, even though you haven't been in it yet. That's, I think, what really excited me.
Nice. Yeah, Henry, similarly, what stood out to you from that first gameplay presentation?
Immediately was seeing some of that galaxy that we're going to be exploring. So they confirmed that there's 1,000 planets, and yes, you can visit all of them, including our own solar system, which we know we will be able to visit at some point and see what Mars is like and what happened to Earth. 1,000 feels weirdly tangible. Like, yes, I could actually imagine myself visiting each one, even just for a quick stop off or just to survey it, or perhaps I get embroiled in some weird mission that happens there, or there are people that need my help. It's just all really exciting.
Yeah, and I think the procedural generation is really interesting as well, because we can meet up after launch and have this like same conversation, and then I can say, oh, I went over here to this part and did this with this character. You'll have something different and you'll have something different.
This by far has the most lines written for a Bethesda game. It's, I think, over 250,000, which is no small feat.
That's a lot of time in the booth.
Yeah, it's a lot of time.
That's a massive book if you were to print that out.
Exactly. But I probably might not even experience half of it, let alone, as much as you might or you might. So it's just up to us to seek them out.
So they've done the post-apocalypse, they've done the fantasy setting. Henry, what about a game set in space specifically has you excited for launch?
Part of it that's just always exciting in the Bethesda game is how it begins.
Yeah.
Create your own character. You've done probably about 20 hours in the character customizer just to get it just right.
Minimum.
Yeah. And then it's that first big step out moment that Bethesda love doing. With Fallout, you're coming out of the vault. With Skyrim, you're waking up on a cart and you're seeing just the dragon suddenly is attacking you. What's that going to be like in Starfield? What's that first beautiful landscape going to look like? And then Todd also went on to say that there's two step out moments in Starfield. One step out moment I'm looking forward to personally is that first flight, that first voyage, the first moment you get to fire the rockets and you're up and you're just going to wherever you've chosen to go.
Yeah, it's just majorly exciting. Jake, like what has you excited about like all this gameplay?
I loved the bones. We didn't see any literal bones, right? But I mean that like you can see from the gameplay that it is the bones of a Bethesda game, but just like upgraded in every single way. You could see that they had that first person, third person. You can pick up everything, you can move everything, right? Like that thing that makes it feel like a real space. I just love this image we're getting that it's the next evolution of a Bethesda game. I think Will Shen, the lead quest designer at Bethesda, talked about how their Radiant story system they use to sort of like generate quests on the fly. Like when you're in Skyrim and someone comes up to you and is like, oh, can you please get my ring from those bandits in that cave, to encourage you to do more exploring and so you never run out of quests. That's been now changed from like a kind of local level to a planetary level. The potential that has for individual story, right? Like that's so exciting.
Customization has been at the heart of the Fallout and Elder Scrolls series, and Starfield looks once again to be upping the ante. Jake, what customization are you going to be diving into first?
Now, while I love a character creator, right, I think I clocked 4 hours of playtime in Fallout 4 before I met my baby. I am just so excited by the building. This kind of modular style of building they have for the outposts, the fact that you can get them to generate resources, have them be operated by people you've met along the way, along your journey. I love that. I'm going to be spending some cozy game hours just like making little outposts. It's going to be so good. And the similar system they seem to be using for the ship building, the fact that you can construct your ship from all these modular elements, affect the layout and everything like that. I'm going to build a palace to fly around for as long as it's convenient, because like it appears that like the building also affects the stats. It'll affect the weight and it'll affect the maneuverability and the weapons and stuff. So maybe the palace wouldn't be good for dogfights, but just, like,
it's going to look damn good.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Interior design, Starfield edition.
That's
what you're going for. Nice. Henry, when you're making your character and the character creation, what are you doing? Are you making yourself? Are you making a monstrosity? Are you doing something in between?
A trend I often find myself doing in most games is I seem to always make a really old bald man. Which might happen this time. I don't really know why. I'm just always drawn to that, but it seems like a really fun way to build like a grisly, sort of hardened, sort of chiseled character that is ready to
veteran.
Yeah, it's ready to take on whatever the adventure happens to be. Bethesda seem to have really handed the reins over to players because it's so important that people get to experience this journey in their most personal way. So they've taken a keen interest in making sure that you can make this character that feels right to you. And I think what's really important to that is the fact that they've doubled down on the diversity of it, and they've made sure that there's more room for pronouns and being correctly gendered as well. Most of all, I think what's really interesting is this slight overhaul they've had to how the character creator can impact your origin
Yeah.
your initial story, and all the different traits and the intrinsic values that you can pick in the background, and whether you're good at cooking or whether you're a sharpshooter or if you've got some medical background. And I finally get to see that within my own character and not just the ones that they've written for you.
What one aspect of Starfield that you've seen so far are you most excited about?
Vasco, no contest. Like, I just think that he looks really cool. It's a great robot design. And in terms of companions, I always love Bethesda companions. And Vasco's been in a lot of like the art and stuff lately.
He's on the Lucozade bottle.
He is. Like, he's cute, the way he plods about. And I can't wait to spend countless hours in space with him.
Yeah, it's nice to have a helpful companion in
Yes.
the deep, dark space that you're going to be exploring. Henry, how about you?
I think when it's all said and done, you've been through the character creator, you've been through the initial hand-holding, and they take the training wheels off, and the game finally asks you that big question of, okay, where do you want to go? And you pick that planet and you just set off. And whatever's out there that I'm going to find is for me, and that's my personal intro into Starfield, and then everything else just spirals out of control and I lose countless hours, and there we go. So yeah, that's definitely it for me.
Henry, Jake, thanks so much for joining me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Now, for those of you in the UK, while you look forward to the Starfield Direct on the 11th of June, why not grab yourself a bottle of Lucozade Energy to nab 1 month of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, plus the chance to win Xbox and Starfield prizes every day, including an Xbox Series S. Just scan the QR code on a bottle of Lucozade Energy Starfield Edition, Original, Orange, or Pink Lemonade Zero to get started. And if you're itching for more on Bethesda's latest RPG, check out the Lucozade Extended Reality Experience, where you can discover Starfield content and take part in challenges to win even more prizes. For more on Starfield, stick with IGN.